This weekend, the Open Wheel Racing Series IndyCar is in town for me, and I wanted to get tickets for this race months ago, but nobody really wanted to go with me. I didn't want to go alone, so I didn't get tickets. Then my mom ended up getting tickets for free and asked me if I wanted them, and I was like, yeah. So I'm very excited for this July 4th weekend to watch a bunch of cars go around in a circle very fast because I am a lunatic. If you know me or you listen to our podcast on Sundays, the Work in Progress podcast, you would know that I talk about racing a lot. And this all really got me thinking, what is it that makes me like racing so much? But I have kind of come to a conclusion. It's mostly because of the racing games that I've been playing for the last 15 years. I'm John at Shotty Studios, and this is my top 5 list for the best racing games ever. Number 5, F1 2020. Thanks to Netflix's Formula One, Drive to Survive, the sport has garnered a lot of new fans over the last couple years and has actually re-interested quite a few old ones. To a lot of people, Formula One is just a bunch of hot-headed, immature guys driving very fast around a track, and they kind of have a point. However, when it comes to racing games, there are some things that are very uniquely special about Codemasters game series that you just don't get anywhere else. For instance, you can't race licensed modern F1 cars anywhere else. You can't race around Monte Carlo in the world's most famous Grand Prix anywhere else. You can't fight for the title of the pinnacle of motorsport anywhere else. There's a lot of tracks in F1 2020 that you don't get to race in any other racing game. It does a good job with the usual racing game tropes and is incredibly competitive and satisfying on and offline. The game is very, very rewarding when you get it right. If I were you though, I would hold off on buying this. The newest rendition of the series, F1 2021, will be available July 16th, 2021. Number 4. Forza Horizon 4. I have a sneaking suspicion that I am gonna get some flack for this one, but it's my list and you can whine all you want in the comment section down below. Fact of the matter is that this game is bigger, better looking, and this game has 751 available cars to own, drive, and race. Everything from the Koenigsegg RS to the itty bitty teeny tiny PLP50. They even put a Ford Transit van in this game. As well, this game doesn't limit itself to only one type of racing. You can do road racing, rally, cross country, and more. Freedom of customizing your own car however you want is also a huge plus, especially if you're the kind of person who has always wanted to put rally suspension and rally tires on a Ferrari F40. The community is full of people who, wouldn't you know it, happen to like cars too. And the open world lends itself to cruising around and racing your buddies. In my opinion, if you're looking to try and get into some racing games, this is a great place to start. I would also wait for the newest version to come out, Forza Horizon 5, which is supposed to come out later this year. Number 3. Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. This is one of those games that had a huge influence on me growing up. I still remember the first time I saw that blue and silver BMW M3 GTR and thought, wow, that's the coolest car ever. And it still is. It was so cool, and I was a hero. Mia is probably my first crush that I can genuinely remember.
Get in.
I was like 5. Street racing and running from the cops at 200 miles an hour is one of the coolest things you can do while wearing your seatbelt. Obviously, as is reminded to you every single time you start the game. I will be honest, the majority of my love for this game is purely nostalgia, and that's okay. A part of why I love video games and cars is ingrained in this 16-year-old video game. Not to mention the blacklist system was super cool. Getting the pink slips from other racers was always a really rewarding and satisfying thing. And then selling their car out of spite right afterwards. And considering that this game still has a very strangely dedicated fan base, I think it deserves a spot on my list. Number 2, Gran Turismo Sport. GT Sport is arguably one of the best racing sims ever, and it just so happens to belong to one of the oldest series in the genre. It's so good, in fact, that this year at the Olympics, it's being played for medals. Not only are esports competing in the Olympics for the first time, but this game in particular is so competitive that the organizers chose for it to be played on the world stage. I know that there are more hardcore and demanding sims, but that doesn't make those games any better. What it does is make them inconceivably hard, expensive, and time-consuming. GT Sport isn't easy by any means, but it's much more accessible and enjoyable overall. You want to train for the Olympics? It's a little too late. Sorry. You can pretend that you're training for the Olympics, and I'll support you. You want to be able to hop on for an hour and just have some fun? More than welcome to. It's a beautiful game with more realistic sounds and physics and strategizing. And with a near perfect online ranking system that pits the most talented and consistent players against each other, it has built one of the most hardcore, competitive, and honestly intimidating communities out there. Cars might not be real, but the racing definitely is. Number 1, Mario Kart. Both to the expectation and annoyance of racing enthusiasts everywhere, I think it's genuinely hard to pick a different game. Now, before you go leave a really rude comment saying how I don't know anything, 1, you're right. 2, hear me out. To my racing enthusiasts, I am like you. I love racing, I love cars, I love fighting to trim 0.2 of a second off my lap times. However, to the majority of people, that kind of stuff is incredibly boring. The average person, and thus the average player, does not care, and really, they shouldn't. But the level of competitiveness sparked in everyone by this small Italian plumber with a silly mustache, dressed in red, in a go-kart is what makes this the best racing game of all time. I cannot tell you how many people in the last 10 years have told me that they could kick my ass in Mario Kart. Not a single one of them has been successful, because I just don't race them. I started playing Mario Kart on the DS, but in my opinion, it was at its peak when it was on the Wii. You know, when you could have like that steering wheel? That was undeniably fun. At the end of the day, that's what gaming is about for most people. It's not about beating your previous lap time. It's about bragging rights and talking shit to your friends. I hope you enjoyed the video, and feel free to leave your list down below in the comments. If you watched all the way to the end, leave a like and subscribe. YouTube is gonna recommend our videos to you anyway. Follow us on all socials at Shoddy Studios to keep up to date. Check out the merch store in the description to support the channel. Yours will not come like tie-dyed like this one. I did that myself.
Make sure you do all your racing in the game. On the streets, drive safely and responsibly, and wear your seatbelt.